Welcome in this new episode. And today I have a special guest, Brigitte van Tuijl. Welcome, Brigitte.
Thank you.
We just started again because I started in Dutch and we said we're going to do it in English. So a second try in English. And a special guest, there's two reasons for me why, maybe actually three reasons. Your friend, which is always great to have a conversation with a friend and to dive into these things that keep us busy. But we also did a talk earlier in March 2012. That's a long time ago. And that was right after we had a conversation on a terrace in your city, where we talked about taking a big step and going internationally. So we both talked about, so what would this mean if we would just start writing, creating products, publishing, everything in English. And we both said, yes, that's a great idea. Let's do it.
Yep.
And I for me, that was a true decision. I thought it was a great idea to do that. But I created an English product. I had an English website, but I focused on that English website. And after 9 months, I had one international client. The other ones were all Dutch, and we just had this English conversation through Skype, things like this, like Zoom. So everything was online. But everybody was Dutch. And most of the Dutch people that followed me on my Dutch website didn't move over to the English version. They just left or stopped following me. Mm-hmm. And after 9 months, for me, it was too difficult. I didn't have enough revenue. I didn't have enough profits, so I could live from it. So I decided to go back to the Dutch version, keep the English version, but don't focus on it anymore, and try to rebuild my Dutch site. But you did something completely different. You focused on it and you went completely with it, and you are still doing everything in English. This is the reason why we're having this conversation in English. So that's great.
Yes.
It's always a special thing in my memory that we just sat there and decided, so we're going to do this in English. Yes, that's a great idea. Yes, let's do it. Yeah. Probably you already maybe have decided that before, because I think that you were the initiator of that conversation idea. I'm not sure, but I felt it was that way.
Yeah, it could be.
And when I read your book, I saw it that you switched in 2011. It was a really important decision for you then, and that's why. Yeah, right. I was there.
Yeah.
So that's why for me this is exciting and special. You asked if you could be on this podcast, which is always a good idea. If you want to be on a podcast, just ask. Maybe they just invite you. And because you have a new book, the book Unmute Your Life.
Yes.
In the meantime, you already have another new book.
Yeah, that one's coming in November. So that's At the moment we're talking now, it's about 3-4 weeks away. And that one is called The Gap, Bridge the Space Between Where You Are and Where You Want to Be.
I saw the video of you where you were just going through the pages with the new design. So that's why I know this. But today we're going to focus on this book.
Yes, Unmute Your Life.
Unmute Your Life. And of course, when people like you ask me this, I always want to help, but I also have to find is this a good topic for the people that I believe listen to these podcasts, these episodes. And so I asked you for a digital copy, and to read to see if this could be something that I want to have in a podcast. And I read through it. Just skimmed it and read some sections, and I was kind of, I'm not sure if this is the right topic. First of all, your book is directed towards women, and some parts it is really clear. Other parts you don't. I can read it as a man, and it just feels it's directed to me. But some parts it's really clear it's for women. Mm-hmm. And also it's a lot about intuition and the universe and a goddess and all this. And I'm not sure if this is, I'm really comfortable talking about this. So then, of course, I also thought, okay, so this is something apparently I have to find out. I have to research. I have to investigate what's going on here. So that's why I invited you to see if you can help me to look into this thing that I'm feeling right there.
Sure.
So your book is divided in 4 parts, 4 sections. Yes. And the funny thing is that the way that you have, funny is not maybe the right word, but it's different. Let's put it that way. It's different is that you have these sections, and every section has like chapters from 1 to 15 or something, right? So there's a lot of chapters in each section, and they all start at 1. So there's not, it's not like you have 7 chapters. No, and they have like 50 or 60 chapters in total. But you know, some of them just 1 page. So it's not that it doesn't mean it makes the book thicker, but it's just a different way of looking at it, and that was funny.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Well, because let me share the subtitle as well, because that will give an impression what the book's about. So it's Unmute Your Life, Break Free from Fear, and Go for What You Really Want. And really is in capitals, because there can be the things you want and then the things you really want, because often what you think you want is not your true desire, but the thing you think you can get. So that's why what you really want with really in capitals.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, okay.
Explain this part. What you really want or what you can get.
Well, what I see in working with people, because basically helping people get clear on what it is they truly want, and I used to call that your soul's purpose, the thing you feel that you are born to do, the thing you're passionate about. Everyone has that, I believe. What I see is that everyone has something that they really, truly want to do or experience in their life, but then they think, yeah, okay, I want this, but then here's reality, and I have a mortgage, and I have kids, and I have my own business, and I have only so much time. So this dream of mine that I want, it's not practical, it's not doable. So let's water down that dream a little bit and focus on what I think I can get instead. Something that still looks like the original dream, the thing I truly want, but something that's maybe a bit more realistic, a bit more doable. That is what a lot of people do when they look at what is it that I want. They often quickly think in impossibilities instead of on possibilities. And that also explains why there are 4 parts in the book and why I start each part at chapter 1, because everyone is at a different phase. There are people who have that tell me like, yeah, that's all good and well, you know, going for the thing I really want, but I don't know what that is. So the first part of the book is for those who have no clue what that desire is. It's just a bunch of exercises, and if you like, you can do all of them. You don't have to, but you could. And that helps you clarify, okay, this is what I truly want. But if you already know that, you can skip that part. You don't have to read that first part, and you can go to one of the other parts, because there's really a logical sequence in it. So once you know what you really want, then you have the question, okay, so now that I know, how am I going to make this real? So that's the second part of the book. So if you already know, you can jump into that part of the book. But there are also people who get to the point where they think, okay, I know what I want, but now I see all these obstacles. I don't have enough money. I don't have the time. I don't know if people are waiting for what I have to offer. I don't know if it's possible. And a whole bunch of other obstacles. If that's the phase you're at, you can go to part 3 of the book, because in that part of the book, I tackle each and every one of those obstacles that can stop you from going for your dream. So if that's the phase you're in, you go to that part. And then the final part, and I call that troubleshooting, And that is the part where you know what you want, your focus and your goal, your dream, it's clear, you're working for it, you're doing it. And then along the way, suddenly you start to procrastinate, or you wonder if this is what you still want, or you doubt if it's ever going to work for you, or all kinds of things can happen in that phase. And all those things, I tackle those in part 4 of the book. So it's not a book that you sit down and you read it. It's really, it's a workbook. Basically, yeah, I put you to work. I give a lot of inspiration. There are a lot of chapters you can read and they can inspire you, but I also make you work for it, because that really is the truth. If you know what you want, there are just things that you have to do then in order to make that dream or that goal or whatever you want to call it, to make it real. You need to do things. And yes, intuition plays a large part in that. That's absolutely. That's one of the things I truly believe in. And I see that as your most important tool, including in making decisions. But there's also just the work is also not just taking the actions, but coming up against the fears in yourself and the resistance you can feel and dealing with that. That, I believe, is the most work of all, because actions themselves are simple. There's something you need to do and you just do it. That's really all it is. The only reason that ever is difficult is because you're scared of the consequences of that action, or you're scared of taking the action itself. Some kind of fear or resistance, that is what makes it hard to do something, because an action itself is just that, it's just an action. So that's why a lot of the book focuses on that inner work, as I call it, the facing your fears and the obstacles that may sound like legitimate reasons for why you are not doing something. But when you look at it and you explore it, you're like, oh, but maybe it is possible. I mean, you can say, okay, I cannot do this because I don't have the money. Well, you know, that everything ends there. But you can also look at it and ask, okay, so what is possible? What can I do? How could I solve that? How can I find a way around that? And that is what I help you do in this book. So nothing has to stop you.
So I'm coming back to this intuition part, of course.
Yes, I saw your face when I mentioned it.
If you want to see my face, you just have to video. It's on YouTube. You can watch the video.
Yeah.
The part, what's before this is the part that I'm also interested in, because it's not just about the book that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the whole process and about how you have your company right now and the decisions that you make, next to the one decision to go to English. So when we started talking just before we had record, you talked about the moment that we spoke, and you said, and that's already also been a couple of years ago, is saying that I want to build a
empire around my books, based on my books. Yes.
Right. So what does that mean? Building an empire based on your books?
To me, what it means is that there are two things I absolutely love doing. One is writing, the other one is coaching. But what I love to spend most of my time on is writing. And for me, an empire based on my books is that I'm just sitting in my bubble, in my own bubble, and because I really love that, and being on my own, working on my own, that's when I'm so happy. And then the coaching for the interaction, I love that too. But I love writing and being in my bubble most. And then an empire based on my books, what that means for me is that the main thing I'm doing in my business, in my life, is writing and publishing books. And then I also have coaching and online programs, but the books are the basis. And I inspire and reach millions of people around the world with my message, with the things I have to share that hopefully are of value to others. And I believe they are, or I wouldn't go through all the trouble to begin with. And that's it. That's really it. So the main thing for me is, and that was a question that I had many years ago. So how can I have this impact on a lot of people without constantly having to deal with people in real life or online, you know? Because I'm really super introverted, which does not mean that I'm shy, but which means that I need to be alone to recharge. And I like being on my own and doing my own thing, being alone.
A hermit, right?
Absolutely total hermit. But for a long time I had a question, how can I be a hermit and work with people and impact so many more people than I'm reaching now without going completely crazy myself? How on earth am I going to do that? And for me, the answer is books, because that brings me the best of both worlds. Doing my own thing in my own time, in my own way, when I'm on my own, and still having impact on lots of people without ever having to see them or talk with them.
So maybe you can take us a little bit through the process. How do you came to this conclusion? How do you came to this vision?
Well, it's not something. It was something that I felt inside of me. I cannot make it any clearer than that. It's not something that I thought about or rationally put together. It's just, and I believe that is true for what I call your true dream or what you really want. It is something you can explain it in words up to a certain point, and after that it's just feeling. It's just a knowing, like, yeah, but this is it, and you feel it. It's just like, I mean, you're married, so you have had this point in your life once many years ago when you looked at your now wife and thought, yeah, this is her. I'm going to ask her to marry me. Well, why her? Well, if I ask you that, you could probably give me a whole list of reasons why.
No, not so many.
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe you have some idea.
No, I'm kidding. No, but the thing.
No, but it's a feeling. It's a feeling.
But I also
place
believe
where you don't know.
That the feeling develops over time, because me and my wife, we have been together for almost 40 years, 35 years or something like that.
Oh, that's great.
And so we met each other when I was 16. So that at that time I didn't thought she is the one that I'm going to marry. It was just somebody met, and a female person, girlfriend, that I liked, and started dancing with her, and then slowly it builds into a relationship. And at some point you think, okay, I think marriage is a good idea. So, or living together, maybe that's a better description. So because I have the same feeling about this whole idea about, finding my way into this better decision topic that I'm having right now, and the coaching, the business coaching. It was a whole process that took like 10 years to develop. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't for me sitting with my wife. It wasn't something for me that was like, okay, so now I have this insight. Now I know. It was a process, learning, discovering, finding, practicing as well, right? Adjusting the products that you have with clients, and practicing, like mentoring, slowly going to coaching. So it was a whole process. How do you do it? Is it for you similar, or is it really a feeling in the moment?
Both. But even if it's a process, it's always a process where I follow my feeling in the moment, where I follow my intuition. It's always that. And then you are right, certain things develop over time, because what I'm doing now in my business, when I started my business in 2003, I had no idea that one day I'd be working in English. I had no idea that one day you and I would create something that's called a podcast. I mean, that didn't, as far as I know, that didn't exist in 2003. There was no Zoom, what we're using now to record this podcast in 2003. doing online business was not a thing in the Netherlands in 2003. So there was, I think, most of what I'm doing in my business today, I had no clue that one day I would be doing that. But what I did know and feel some of the things I wanted to do, and that was writing books, even though in 2003 I didn't know what those books would be about, but that one day I'd be writing books, I knew that. I knew that I loved coaching people. I still do. So there was that. But most of all, I knew back then that how I most wanted to live and how I wanted to feel in my business.
Hold on. I have a question.
Yes.
These questions burns. I have to ask them.
Yes.
So
ask away.
You knew that you liked coaching. Was that before
Yes.
or after your coaching education?
I knew that before I started my coach training. I knew it then. I knew that I wanted to work with people, and it was something that I had always liked to do. But before I first heard of the whole thing that's called coaching, which was in 1998 when I hired my own first coach. Back then in the Netherlands, no one had a fucking clue what a coach was, including me. And I always knew that I really liked interacting with people in a specific way, you know, talking about what they were dreaming or thinking about, and I was good at it, but that was it. And so people sometimes told me, oh, you should be a psychologist. And I was like, oh, God, no. And then, you know, with a box of tissues and people crying and they have all kind of problems. And then for a year, they come and sit on your couch. And I was like, no. Ugh. So I closed the door to working with people because I didn't know such a thing as like coaching existed until I started working with a coach myself. And I was like, ah, yeah, but this I like. Just a couple of conversations with someone and you have a very clear and specific goal or topic that you work on, and it's about results, and it's not about boo-hoo, I'm feeling so sad for myself, and which is all legitimate and with all due respect to psychologists, but this is just how I felt, and I'm just expressing it completely uncensored. So that's why I recognized, like, oh, right, this really is something that I love to do. I just didn't know such a thing like coaching existed. But the feeling of wanting to do something like that was already there. So the moment I experienced what coaching was, it clicked with that feeling or deeper knowing that was already asleep in me, and now it was waking up, you know. And that is, I think, the process or the development that you have in the things you do or the things you dream of. It's not always that you know the exact clear picture of what it is you are going to do, but there is this desire or an interest or something you want to know more about, and then you follow that, and in doing that it becomes clearer and clearer what it is you want to do and what it can look like. Does that answer your question at all?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
But it also, of course.
Yes, new questions.
Exactly. So now you have this feeling deep inside you, which is still
Yes.
asleep. You don't know exactly what it is.
Yes.
But then your education, your bring up, your church, whatever, could force between brackets or quotes, is to not do this because people make you believe that this is what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how do you at some point know that that path that you were forced into is not the right path?
Well, you always feel it. You always feel it because you feel you're either bored or burned out, or you don't feel much of sense of fulfillment or meaning, or you're not happy. You feel that you don't have enough challenge in what you're doing. And very often what I heard people say is, and there we go to the feeling part again, because it's often difficult to find the right words or to know exactly what is off. But what I hear people say very often is, well, it's just, I have this feeling that there's just something else, something different, something more. Is this really it? When I look at my life, when I look at my business, or when I look at my work, whatever you look at, and you ask yourself the question, is this really it? When you ask yourself a question like that, the answer is, yeah, no, there's something else that you want. And you better go looking for it, because it's there and you're not happy. So, yeah.
But people love spending time in their comfort zone.
They do. And that's why it can often take a long time, either because they dream about something and the dream keeps coming back. That's what I experienced myself, because I only started working in English in 2011, in November or something like that. But really, I already knew that that was what I wanted to do in 2008. But it was just, and back then I had just published my first book, my Dutch book. I had just published that. And I think by that time, maybe it was just picked up by a publisher as well. And they were going to publish it next after I self-published it first. And my business was, was doing well after a rough start and a lot of hard work and struggle to get it going. And that was finally happening. So I was thinking to myself, like, oh, okay, well, cool. The dreams that I had for my business when I started in 2003 to write a book one day and to get this business up and running, these were my big dreams in 2003. I fulfilled them. So yeah, okay, so what's next? And I was just asking myself the questions just really casually, and the answer that came up instantly out of fucking nowhere was to reach and impact and inspire millions of people all over the globe. And I was like, whoa, wait, what? And that just felt so far-fetched and so unrealistic and so scary even, because I instantly started thinking, but how? Doing what? Can I even do that? Is that really what I want? And it scared me so much on so many levels that I was like, okay, yeah, forget about that.
Okay, new question.
New question. Okay.
So obviously it's clear that whenever somebody is telling these great stories, and I have a lot of questions, I think it's just really interesting. So that's why I'm asking all these questions, right? So
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Was this, you were one day just sitting in your office and doing your thing, coaching, and you had a book published, and just did you just ask the question there, or was it just you felt something was off and you made time for yourself, you blocked some time out, and then you just sat there and thought, so is this it? Is this what I wanted? Or how is it? Was it just some
it was curiosity. It was curiosity, and the blocking out time to explore what I want and what's going on inside me and what I'm doing and what I'm feeling and if I'm still on track. That is something I do almost every day because I love that. So that was not, and it was more that I was looking at like, wow, this is so cool. Here's my book. And my business is doing well. That is so cool. I wonder what's next. It was more like a curiosity thing. And also because I always like to learn and grow and explore new things, because for some people, the moment they finally have something they really wanted, they're like, whoa, well, we're going to enjoy this ride for the next year or whatever, or I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And I'm like, okay, so now we've got this. What's new? What's next? That's just the way I am. So it was more out of curiosity, like, yeah, wow, what would be next? I'm curious. And I didn't even expect an answer to come up. It was just more out of curiosity. So I was also really surprised when this came up. And that, to circle back to the question I was answering before, you asked, like, you said people love to be in their comfort zone and to remain there. And that is true. And there are very black and white, if you make it really simple, there are basically only two reasons why people come out of their comfort zone. The first is when they have a dream about something and that dream keeps coming back year after year after year after year. And at some point they think, well, whatever, let's just go for it. Apparently it wasn't just a fluke or a one-time thing, so let's do it now. Or the pain of staying inside of your comfort zone becomes just unbearable. And the pain of staying where you are has become bigger than the fear of stepping into the new thing.
And pain is physical pain?
No.
Okay.
Mental, emotional. The pain of feeling unhappy and wondering, is this all there is? And I should be doing something different, or maybe I can explore new options, or if only, thoughts like that, and the feelings that go with it, and that pain. Not physical. It could turn into physical pain. I mean, you could literally get sick or burned out if you continue to do things and force yourself to do things that are really not what make you happy. You can definitely make yourself sick that way. But no, I'm mainly talking about the emotional pain of feeling unhappy and unfulfilled and bored and all of that.
So getting back to what you said before, you said, so I do that daily, creating a moment to think. So I think this is important. So that's why I want to dive a little bit deeper into this. Yeah. How do you do this? Is this part of your morning ritual? Do you have a set time of the day? Do you have a specific amount of time do you spend there? How can somebody organize this?
Well, for me, I do it in the morning. And the reason I do it in the morning, and the reason if people listening to this think, oh yeah, I want to do that too, I suggest you do it in the morning as well. Because really what you do, and I'll share how I do it and give some ideas on how else you could do it if you don't like my idea. But it has a really clear function for me, because we all have so many things to do, or your to-do list is never done. And if you don't take the time to stop and turn inward and look at what really matters, you can spend your whole day, your whole life being super busy, doing one chore after the other, but never really getting to the things that truly matter. And it's so easy to do that. And honestly, I think a lot of people spend their life that way. And I believe that taking that time to turn inward and to look at, okay, so what's going on inside me? What is it I want? What truly matters to me? And if I look at what truly matters to me, then what makes most sense to do today? And for me, I always tune into my intuition for that. But if you don't have, if that is something that you say, oh, that's too vague for me, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is ask yourself the question, okay, so, right, what's going on inside me? How am I feeling? What am I thinking? What are my priorities? What matters to me? And how do I act on that? On what you feel or the answers that come up in that moment. How I do it is because I love writing. So for me, I do it by writing in my journal with my fountain pen. And I don't have a set time. Some mornings it takes me 5 minutes. Other mornings I'm writing for 30 minutes because all kinds of ideas come up, or, and I write them all down. And if you if you want to do this and you like writing as well, then you can do it that way. If that doesn't appeal to you at all, or you think, yeah, well, I don't have time for it. Well, first of all, make time. We're talking about your life here and focusing on what matters. So why wouldn't you make the time? That's the first thing I want to say to you. And the second thing is, well, it doesn't have to cost a lot of time. I mean, if you take a shower in the morning, you can use the time that you are taking your shower to ask yourself those questions. Ooh, and when you do that, you should get those, you have those notebooks that you can use in the shower. Get one of those, because I guarantee when you really tune in and you ask yourself those questions, and even only asking, okay, so what am I feeling? What am I thinking? What's going on inside of me? Things will come up that you may want to write down. So if you do it in the shower, get that notebook, for the shower notebook. I don't know what it's called, but just Google it, you can find it. And or you can, when you drive to work, whether it's on your bike or by train or in the car, then you can use that time to ask yourself that question. But really, can't you really spare like 5 minutes in the morning to just be quiet and notice what goes on inside of you? I think we all have 5 minutes. You can find them somewhere. And I just know that if you really do that every day, especially when you don't want to do it, because then there's something trying to get your attention that you don't want to look at, and you need to look at it. When you do it every day, it's going to make a huge difference in your life and also in your business.
I like writing too. So I do journal as well every morning, every weekday, not in the weekends. And on Sunday, I actually do a pre-mortem. I always write one page. So I get also tends to be like a kind of set amount of time. I don't time it, but it usually is about the same time, because writing one page usually takes about the same time.
Yeah.
And so everything comes up. I'm not sure. Sometimes it's about the family. Sometimes about things I experience. I always start with, "It is a great day." That's my first sentence.
I like that.
Every time, "It's a great day." And from then on, I just write. And I don't set priorities from there, because I usually do my priorities the day before. So I know what I need to do in the morning after I have my morning ritual. So I don't get distracted by email or social media, whatever. So I don't get priorities from there. Although sometimes I get actions. I write down things that I need to do, and I just write them. I have a notepad next to my on my desk, and it always starts blank in the morning, and then I write stuff down that comes to mind, and I need to write down because I can't focus on it right now because I have already other priorities for the day, so I can't focus on those. So priority is not my thing, but journaling is it feels like clearing the mind or something, right? It feels like and maybe some people say clearing the soul, but I don't. That's not words I use easily. But yeah, it feels like it's just getting stuff out of my head. And actually, the same happens, of course, in the shower, because that's a moment on your own.
Usually.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. It usually is.
Not necessarily, but yeah.
No, but it's a thing that you do. It takes a certain amount of time, and showering you do quite a lot. So it's an easy habit. You don't think about it. So that means your mind is free for other stuff. That's what's going on. So a shower is a great thing to get time to, get your mind flowing for ideas. So I like that. Also, what I thought about this, and I'm not sure how it's working now, but I'm asking you and see what's going on there. Because I remember we spoke, I don't know, like 2 years ago or something. And at that point, you were starting with your books. You were just starting to write them, right? You had the idea of a series, which this book is part of a series.
Yes.
And you said, well, I'm not sure how this is going to work. And you have always, for me, speaking these kind of vague ideas. But I love talking about it. So that's not, I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just, for me, it's very,
it's just different.
Yeah, it's different. And you talked about, I think you had like a Facebook group where people paid to follow your process of writing the books. How is that going?
I quit doing that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I'm just curious. So
Yeah.
why did you quit it?
Well, actually, it's still running now until January the 1st, and then I officially quit it. And the reason it's still going on till January the 1st is because the people who are in it all signed up for a year. So I'm completing that year. Yeah, basically, I don't like it anymore.
Right.
It's really that simple. Yeah, back then, I thought it was a really cool idea. And I still think it's a cool idea. Because what I basically did was I took the theme, the overarching theme of that book series, and what is
the theme?
The Art of Divine Selfishness, which means to put yourself and your soul first, and then you build your whole life around that. Because I believe when you do that, not only are you happier, it's also better for your business, it's also better for your clients, and you also have more to offer to the people you work with and the world in general.
I believe the same thing. I believe the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the overarching theme. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I create a membership program around it, and then I create masterclasses based on that topic. And then in the meantime, I write my books, and then I publish my books, and people get the book and they can follow the process, and I have interaction with the actual readers of the books, and maybe they ask me questions that give me ideas for new books or new topics or whatever. And I absolutely loved doing it. And then I didn't love it anymore. And why? I don't know. I think the reason is when I started that membership, I was still working on the book, but it took 9 years before I published it. So it was just a really long journey, the book Unmute Your Life, for all kinds of reasons, and it's all good. But that meant that the idea I had when I started it, like, okay, so I started and then I'm publishing that book Unmute Your Life within the first 6 months. I really thought that that was going to happen, but it didn't. So the idea that I would write and publish the books and share them in that membership program, that was not happening. That was not happening. So there was me creating the masterclasses, and people love them, and it's really valuable and fun to do. But then, yeah. And now the book is here on Unmute Your Life, and I'm writing all kinds of other books. And the idea of the membership program, it's no longer exciting to me. And another reason is, and I totally forgot that, this is the 3rd membership program I created, and it's the last. Hold me to that, Erno. Hold me to it, please. If you ever see me writing something, or if you hear me saying, I'm thinking about starting a membership program, remind me of this moment where I tell you.
I will send you this episode.
Yes, do that. I just don't like that format. I don't like that format.
What is it that you don't like? Because I have problems with it too, but I'm curious, what is that you don't like about it?
What I don't like about it is that I find that difficult. Maybe that's why whether it's because I think it's just difficult or I don't like it, I don't know. But you have to constantly market and promote the same thing in order to get people in. And then new people get in and old people leave. And then you continue to market and promote the same thing. And I lose my enthusiasm for something when I have to talk about it too often. Because then to me, like I shared earlier, I like new stuff. The moment one thing is done, I want to move on to the next. And with a membership, it feels like I'm constantly doing the same old thing, even when the content I create in it is new. But the membership itself and promoting that, for me, it just starts to feel boring really quickly. And then what I do is I stop talking about it because it bores me. But when you stop talking about it, guess what happens?
No members.
You don't get very many new members. And then you get in this downward spiral, like, geez, it would really be super cool to have more people in it, so more people can enjoy the content and the interaction with one another. But that means that I have to talk about the same thing again. Blech.
How many members did you have at the peak?
I think 20 or 25, I think.
Did you have any ideas of how many members you could get?
Well, in the first year, I wanted 100. That's what I wanted for the first year. And I didn't really think about the years after that, to be honest. So for the first year, I wanted 100. And it was 25, which is great. Very grateful for those 25. But that's the peak. It never got more, because then the boredom had set in big time for me.
And for me, but I had similar numbers. I had like 100 as a goal, maybe even 200 as a goal, and then I had 40. And also, that disappointed me. I mean, that's so I couldn't build a business on that. And then the second thing, of course, was that people terminate after a year, because then the membership needs to be renewed, but they make other decisions. And also, in the membership, like you have to be there every week, or you have to do something at least every month or whatever. There's a rhythm that also kind of started, getting in my way, So these are the things that I really didn't like about the membership. So I probably also will not start a membership again either.
Let's remind each other of it, okay? If necessary at all.
Yeah, no. So this is a good, because I was interested in that part, how this worked out for you, and it's good to know that I'm not the only one who has issues with the membership model.
Yeah, and I think that when we look at your topic of making decisions, I think this is, well, it's your expertise, but here's what I believe. I think one thing that can make making decisions easier is to give yourself permission to change your mind later. Because what I often see is that people find it hard to make a decision because they think, but now I'm stuck to it forever or something, and no, you're not. It's a decision you make right now based on what you know right now, and you make your best decision now. And then if in the future you change your mind, no big deal. You just change your mind. Like for me with the membership, it was a decision to do it. I stand behind it. It was a great decision then, and it was a great decision for a long time until one day it wasn't. And then the best decision was to decide to stop doing it. Yeah. And I don't have any problem with that at all. But I see that sometimes people have problems with it because they're like, but I kind of like made a promise to my clients and it's something I started, and now I should now at least give it an X amount of time, or I should give it another try or whatever. Well, that can be the right decision, but when you know that something is just no longer working, then just decide that it's no longer working and make a new decision. It's fine.
That was one thing that I had issues with. It's maybe a bit strong, but so the intuition part in the book, right? So I wrote this down. Let's go back to what I wrote down here. Where are you? Right. I say intuition. I think I find it complicated. I want to research, and at the same time, I hear a lot of entrepreneurs talk about feelings, about making decision with their gut.
Yeah.
And where I think it is difficult to make a decision with the gut if you don't have enough experience on the topic. And then later on in the book, you say, so what your intuition tells you is always right. You're making the right choice. Yes. And if it's not right, if it doesn't give you the right results or the results that you're looking for, you can always make a new choice. Yes. So I wrote down, don't don't judge me, but I wrote
No,
down.
no, I
So
won't.
this sounds like, so you just do something. It really doesn't matter if it doesn't work out right. You just do something else. And then I go like, so intuition is just do something.
No. Your intuition is your own inner wisdom, your inner compass, your gut feeling, your deep down knowing. It always tells you what's right in this moment. But that doesn't mean that it's the same, like we were talking about with the membership. It was the right decision to start it, and it was also the right decision to end it. But that doesn't mean that your intuition then was wrong or that it was the wrong decision. It just means that things changed and then there's a new decision. And sometimes you have to do one thing in order to get to a new place or to learn something, or, you know, and then the next thing comes along.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, for me, intuition is everything. I do everything on intuition and I trust it blindly. I trust my intuition in areas where I have no knowledge about it whatsoever. Like, oh yeah, like for example, when I moved into the apartment I live in now, and then someone came for the internet or no, I had a problem with my internet. That was it. I had a problem with my internet. The internet was no longer working. So they sent around someone to fix it. And I don't know anything about that. So the guy, it was a guy, he was looking at everything and he couldn't find the problem. And he said, yeah, well, okay, I think I have the solution now. I don't even remember what the solution was because I didn't understand what he was talking about, but I knew that it wasn't the solution because my intuition told me. So he said, I'm going to do this because that will solve it. And I said, no, it won't. And he said, but I checked everything else and I know that this is the problem and that I know what the problem is and I know that this is the solution. And I said, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. I'm certain of it. And he was just, you know, because I was so certain, I said, no, we're not going to do that because that is not the solution. Because no, this is not it. And he didn't know what to say. But because, I mean, it is weird, right? Because I couldn't explain why I thought it was, I had no idea. I was just 100% certain. So I said, no, that's not it. And because he didn't know what to do, because I was the client after all, he made a call to Access for All, my internet provider. And he said, yeah, well, we have this problem here. And I can't seem to find the solution. He was looking at me when he said that because he really thought he found the solution, but he also didn't want to say, I have a crazy client here. So just, you know, help me out here. And so whoever he was talking to was like, okay, we'll run some diagnostics on our end. And they did that and they called him back. Turned out the problem with my internet was not inside of my house. It was outside on the street. There was something in the whatever, they needed to dig something up and it was all, but the problem was not in my house. So the solution that guy came up with was indeed not the solution. So how did I know? I don't know. Did I know what I was talking about? Absolutely not. Did I know what that guy was doing? Do I know how my internet even works? I have no idea, but I recognize my intuition and I just know it. And this is how I decide who I hire to do certain things for me. It's, I mean, many years ago, I remember I was looking for an online mastermind program. I didn't, you know, you have all these mastermind programs, well, not now in Corona time, but where you have to fly to the United States like 4 times a year if you're in. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm looking for something completely online. And then I just tell my intuition, bring it to me, bring me the solution. So, and then I know to listen to the inspiration I get. So I told my intuition, bring me the solution. And like 1 or 2 days later, an email, a newsletter landed in my inbox. I didn't know who it was from. I signed up for it myself, but I'm a newsletter junkie, so I get so many that I really don't know all of them or remember all of them. And my intuition said, open that email. I'm like, okay, so I opened the email and I scrolled down and there was mastermind program. I was like, oh, is this the one? And my intuition said, yes. And I clicked on the sales page. It was $10,000 and I signed up. I didn't read the sales page. I had no clue who that coach was. I didn't know what I signed up for, but my intuition said, this is it. So I signed up. So yeah, what can I tell you? I didn't do my research. I just knew it was the right decision, and it was. I worked with that coach for 4 years, and it was amazing. One of the best decisions I ever made. So what can I tell you?
I don't know. Like I said,
you must be in total shock now.
For me, it's a very difficult topic to get to understand. For me, like when I have a decision, I have like a decision book, and I have this template that I use where I ask them a couple of questions about this decision. What kind of emotional state I'm in, what's going on with the decision, what are good things about the decision, what are bad things, what can be expected if things just fall through, and what are possible actions. So it's just like 6 steps, and then I have usually a good idea about if I'm going to do it, yes or no. Sometimes I have now added something which I find very difficult, is asking for help. So as somebody who knows about this topic for help, I did this yesterday. I was asked for a platform to maybe if I could do some what they call expert talks. It's like a podcast or whatever. You do audio and you give your knowledge in audio. And of course, it's very flattering when somebody asks you that, to do that on a platform. And I didn't know that platform. And so I was kind of overwhelmed. So I took the decision book and I wrote everything down that I knew about this idea, about this topic for me. And then I thought, so I can't make a decision. I don't have enough information yet. So I need to know, is it a good company? Are they doing the good things? Is it really bringing people that are doing this something, yes or no? Yeah. So then I contacted some people on Twitter. On LinkedIn. I looked up people that are on this platform on LinkedIn, and I contacted them saying, I have a couple of questions. I don't know enough about this platform and do some research. Can you help me? And they said yes. So this morning I sent them a couple of questions to get more insight on this topic. So for me, there's no intuition. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of intuition going on there.
Well, I'm glad you bring this up, because 2 things. One, I sometimes make decisions in that way as well, because then I want information or I feel I need information, but that's still following my intuition, because my intuition then tells me to get more information or to ask someone. So, but there's still the process of looking up the information. I definitely do that too. Absolutely. And here's another thing that's very important. I've been practicing to listen to my intuition for, 30 years now, if not longer. So I have learned to make the distinction between what is my intuition, or what is my fear, or what's just another voice in my head. And when you ask the questions like you mentioned, that helps you to get all your thoughts on paper. And when you do that, you clear the way to make your decision. And then whether you think you make it rationally or whether you think you make it based on intuition doesn't matter. But when you feel good about your decision, that's all that matters in the end. And that is definitely a very valuable process. So just to sort through all the things that you're thinking about around this topic yourself, or all the questions you have, or all the things that you don't know, because as long as you're still in your head and all these things are going through your mind at the same time, you really don't know what to do, but you also don't know what your intuition is, because sometimes people think they're acting on their intuition, but they're not. They're just acting on one of the voices. Yeah, they're just acting out of fear or panic, or they're trying to avoid something that really they somehow feel that, you know. And I think that everyone knows intuition. You too, you know that. I'm certain that you've experienced times where you just, and maybe you don't call it intuition, maybe you don't call it gut feeling, or maybe you do, but you know, when you meet someone and you feel that you think, not sure if this is going to work out, or not sure if I can really trust this person. Or sometimes you make a decision and you can think, was this really the right thing to do? And then later on you notice that, okay, yeah, I could not trust this person, or I should have done something different. And that really was your intuition or your gut feeling, or whatever you want to call it, trying to get your attention, and already telling you like, maybe make another decision or do something different. So everyone has intuition, and not everyone follows it to the extent that I do. Not everyone works with it the way I do, but everyone has it, and I think everyone knows it. And I think often, even when you make lists or go through a process like you do, I think perhaps in making the final decision, it might be your intuition or your gut feeling that determines whether you go left or right. Might be.
And there is, of course, and there is another reason why I built this database of all this writing down my decisions.
Yeah.
What I do is I also put on my calendar for like in 3 or 6 months a note saying, okay, look back at the decision and see what happens. Was it going according to plan? How are emotions now around this decision? So for me, it is a way to develop my decision process.
Yeah, I like that. That's really nice.
Okay. About the book, and of course, everything we are talking about now is an important part of the book, because a lot of things that you say is a deep discovery, is about, making yourself available for this intuition, for your gut feelings of what you need to do. What is it really a mission? And I'm coming back to this part you said in the beginning. You said, okay, so I have this dream and I have this mission, and I want to reach millions of people.
Yeah.
Why the millions?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I cannot tell you.
Another question that maybe to make it to clarify. Could you just say, I want to reach like 100 people? For me, for other people, not you, because you have this.
Yeah. Well, one is not better than the other.
Right.
It's just different. And I honestly, the moment that it's really how it came up for me in 2008, like millions. And I was like, why? Why would I want that? Is that, and I wondered, is that like an ego thing? Like, see how successful I am. I'm reaching millions of people, which I'm not, by the way, not yet. So I really explored that, because honestly, I don't give a shit whether it's one person or 1 billion. And I think I even would have liked it if the answer would have been 100, because that felt like doable from my own little, only 100 people. I can do that. That's not too scary. That's doable. But no. And I wanted it to be 100, but I kept coming back to millions, and I don't know why. And I can tell you why, but this is going to sound really vague for you, but I'm going to give you that answer anyway. Because I know that for whatever reason, my soul decided that would be fun to experience in this lifetime, in this human form called Brigitte, to let's see what that's like, to write books and then impact millions of people around the world with it. My soul decided that was a good idea. So here I am. And that's why millions. But I don't know why. It's just something that I feel. But also, I also at the same time don't care about it. I mean, if I die in another 50 or so years and I look back at my life and I did not sell millions of books, but I did live every day of my life feeling happy with the things I'm doing, then I'm happy. Because at the same time, I don't care about the millions at all.
That was my another question. So
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
That was cool. So like you said, the first part of the book is, I think, is the most actionable. There's a lot of actions in there.
Yes.
And like you said, you don't have to do all, but you can do all. Like I like the one like saying, okay, my ideal thing, one big prize, what do you want to get, like core values, what are you born to do? Oh yeah, that was a fun thing. So I'm born to blah blah, so ... and then you say answer 25 times. Why 25 times?
Because the first couple of times you answer that question, you are still really in your head thinking about it. Like, oh, okay, what am I born to do? And then the first answers that come up can be weird, like, well, I'm just born to have fun, or I'm born to enjoy my dinners, or I'm born to have children, if that's something that's a part of your life, or I'm born to build my own business, or whatever, you know, things like that come up first. But then after a while, you don't know what to write down anymore, and you can't really think of anything anymore. And when you get to that point, you still, you know, finish that list, then you get to like a deeper layer of answers that taps more into your feeling. Then you get to the layer of answers that says things that like, I'm born to reach millions of people all over the globe, you know, without knowing why you say that or how you're going to do it or if you even want to. But those are the types of answers that can come up when you first empty your mind of the easy answers you can come up with. And for some people, there are no easy answers at all. And then coming up with 25 things, that brings you to the same place as well, because then you force yourself to think about some answers, and then you can only come up with so many, and then the other type of answers start to show up.
Right. So the other one I like to is, when did you feel fully alive? But they are all just very basic for me, like marriage and birth of my children and winning. So that was a very how to say this, had nothing to do with my business, my best life, my best business to write down. So there's a lot of fun, sometimes difficult actions to do to find out what is your real mission, what is you have to do on this earth while you're in this life right here in person. And then the second part is about manifesting. So then you need to decide and commit to the things that you said that is your mission, right?
Yes.
And then here comes another thing that's kind of difficult to understand for me, is clear, align, and raise your vibration. So that vibration part is also a very difficult thing for me.
Well, I can give you an example that makes it clear for you. I mean, when you're struggling with something, like say when you're sad or when you worry or when you feel stressed out about something, you feel a certain way. You know how that feels. I mean, you know that feeling, right? We all do, because we all experience all kinds of emotions. And it's kind of a heavier feeling as opposed to when you feel joyful and bright and optimistic. You know how that feels too. And then you feel a bit lighter and you feel a bit brighter. And often your posture is a little bit different when you are happy and optimistic, as opposed to when you're sad or emotional. You tend to shrivel up a little bit. And what vibration simply is the energy. The energy when you feel down is a bit lower than when you feel good and happy, because then your energy is a bit higher. And the energy or the vibration is lower when you feel sad, and it's higher when you feel happy. So I use the word vibration, but you can just totally forget about that if you don't like it, and just, you know the difference. You also know that when you feel sad or depressed or unhappy or you worry, then your mind is less clear, you are less creative, you don't feel as good. But when you're optimistic and happy and you're not worried, and it's much easier to make decisions, and everything goes just with so much more ease without you really knowing why. It's just everything is easier, and you find parking spots and everything is going your way. But when you're sad and down, then everything is not going your way. And basically the best thing you can do for yourself, if only because you feel better, is to see what if there is something you could do that helps you feel better in this moment. And what you do then is raise your vibration. But if you don't like those terms, or they're just too vague for you, well, forget about it. But basically all you do is, what could I do that makes me feel if only a teeny tiny bit better? And then when you feel a little bit better, everything becomes easier, and everything, the actions you take and the results you get, everything flows with more ease then. So it's basically as simple as that.
I understand. And the thing is, of what I see sometimes is that things that make me happy, for example, is a shower, or is going for a run, right? So going outside, going for a run, that makes me really happy. But then, sometimes you don't feel like that either. And then you feel like, so if I watch some television, I will probably feel better. But it never happens, right?
No,
you never get happy from
does.
watching television or from social, or just scrolling through Twitter or whatever.
No.
So your mind or your body tells you to relax and just watch some television, but what you really actually know is that if you would just put those running shoes on and just go outside, you would really feel better. But that's sometimes a big hurdle.
I know, for me too. And then I know that I will feel better when I do my workout, and let's wait just a little bit longer.
Yeah, right. That's I think what I want to conclude with, because we will not go through the whole book, because it's a huge book. a lot of actions. No, I'm not just saying that, because in the third part, when you talk about the obstacles and blocks, there's like, I'm not sure, like 16 or something chapters in that, but you could probably just read one or two, because the other ones are not for you, right? So you find the obstacles that really resonate with you or with me, and the rest I just flip through, because
you can
they're not mine.
Yes.
So that makes it a lot easier to go through this one, and I think it's similar with troubleshooting.
Yes.
What is it that you want to share about the book that we didn't talk about?
I'm not sure if it's specifically about the book, but it's something that I want to share in general, because I think it's very important for people to realize that, is that when you, not only when you go for your true dreams, or or when you set a big goal for yourself or for your business, what always happens when you do that is that fears and doubts come up. That just always happens. And even when you don't have dreams or set big goals, fears and doubts are part of life. They will come up for you. And what's natural and normal for each and every one of us to do is we want to avoid it or suppress it. And the last thing we want to do is look at our fears or look at our doubts. We just, want them to go away and we don't want to think about it. And as normal as that is, try to look at it anyway, because doing that and then moving through that, or if only you look at your obstacle and you explore it the same way you do it when you described your the questions you ask around the decision you make. What you do then is you really look at what's in my way, what's going on, what do I want, and what might prevent me from going for that or for choosing it. Or that just is so important to do that. It is so important. And especially when it comes to fears, then you don't want to look at it because you're afraid that when you do, your fear will get bigger. But it won't. It gets smaller. It only seems to become bigger just for a little bit because now you put the spotlight on it, you know? So now it seems like it's becoming bigger, but if you continue to look at it, you stay with it, it becomes smaller. And then you can see solutions again. You can get creative ideas on how to do something or how to solve something. And even though you may not want to do it, to look at your obstacles, your fears, your doubts, none of us want to look at it, but do it anyway, because that is really where the gold is when you do that. It's just super important.
I can understand that. It's very easy to misinterpret the voice of fear for intuition.
Yes.
Right. You have somebody's coming to you with a great proposal, or like what I said, somebody asked me to do this expert talk on their platform, and then the fear could just creep in and say, I don't think it's a great idea. And you could just misunderstand that for your intuition, but it's just fear because maybe it becomes bigger. Maybe you become, because fear of success is some of the things that I'm always having issue with is maybe I become successful then. So what happens then? I have no clue, but this is something I want to avoid. For me, success is like connected to divorce. So that's an interesting topic to go into. Not now.
Not now. No.
That's my problem. That's not for this podcast, of course.
Yes.
And I remember one exercise I did. I'm not sure if the exercise is in your book, but I think it's similar in your book. Is where we looked at the problem, and this was for me the problem that I wanted to look at was, so what is the worst that can happen, right? So what is the absolute worst that could happen if you do this, and what would come from that? So what would be the good things that are coming from that? And after that exercise, I got like, okay, maybe I should get a divorce. That was a bit too far-fetched, but anyway, it was a joke. Don't worry about it. It was a joke.
Yeah.
So I found this a very interesting conversation. I found it interesting to read your book and to discover this different way of working, which is not my normal way, but it's I think it's interesting to explore. And I love talking to you again, and explore with you. Where is it where people can reach you the best? What is a good platform where they can find you?
I think there are so many, but I think the easiest one is to go to my website. And when you go to, let's go to unmuteyourlife.com. That brings you to my website, and then you land on the page of the book if you would like to check out the book. And if you don't want to check out the book, then at least you're on my website and you can find how you can contact me there.
So great. Thank you very much, Brigitte.
Thank you.
Talking to you again. And
yes,
I guess we will just see each other in another episode.
Yeah, I guess so. And thank you. I always enjoy talking with you. I always do. And I just hope that the people who listen to it will have gotten some value from it as well.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you.